Hey guys, Joeteck here again. This time we're actually going to show you how to install all the hardware in a case. Like building a PC again, except instead of being on the open air chassis that I have, we'll show you how to do it in a case. Now, it's relatively the same thing, putting the hardware in where it's supposed to go. However, the difference is that you have to be extremely careful where the posts are for the motherboard holes and the posts on the case itself. It's a common problem that you install too many and one of the posts on the bottom short out the board and blow out stuff. So we're definitely going to be looking into that and making sure that we don't have too many. Okay, so now we have the chassis. This is a Corsair Spec 01 chassis. Nice and tiny. Don't need anything radically large. It does have a window. I'm going to leave the plastic on to protect it. But inside the chassis, you can clearly see that there's posts here. So we have a couple of posts here and here and here. We have to make sure that these are exactly what we need. We don't want to go too many and go and short out the board. So I'm going to teach you how to, I guess, do some really good wire management to make this installation look super clean. I already did one. Remember, I have two machines that I have to do. Two machines, whichever camera wants to see my two fingers. I have two machines. Since you guys are familiar with what I did the other day with motherboard and stuff, with everything, we need to, when we do the installation of the motherboard and stuff, we need to make sure when we do the installation of the motherboard on the inside, you have to be very careful of the posts. These are in here by default. There's one with a pin on it, which is right here, and then there's other ones throughout the chassis. And it's important to make sure that when you stick the motherboard in here, that you have the necessary supports where they're supposed to be, because if you have too many, or well, actually, yeah, too many or one that's not supposed to be in that specific spot will short out the board on the bottom of it, and that's bad news. You don't want that to happen. That is a major common problem with doing your own custom computer installations of motherboards and stuff. There's really not much to do. So the only thing that we have to do prior to this now is install the shield. So we have to install the shield here. So what you do is you put it in the right direction. You put the bottom in first, tilt it, push until you hear it pop into place. Now the back shield is installed. Okay, so now, since I already did one of these already, let's unravel this cabling, get this out of the way. And also, inside of here is all the necessary screws and stuff for the case. So inside of this is all of the screws and stuff that we'll need, and wire ties and zip ties, whatever you guys want to call it. Zip ties. I call them wire ties, zip ties. You got 4 zip ties here, and then all the necessary screws and an extra post, just in case you need another post that comes with the case. What's really nice about this case, what I like, is that it actually gives you the screws to mount in solid state drives, 2.5-inch drives in here, which is nice. So what's nice, these slide in device, I guess this slide in hard drive cage offers screw holes for 3.5-inch drives as well as 2.5 inch. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, so you can mount the hard drive like this and screw it in the bottom, and it comes with those screws, which we'll show you momentarily. So now, it is important that you know exactly where the posts are supposed to go. So when we're sticking this inside of the chassis, we're taking note on where the posts go. There is one in the middle, directly in the middle, that has a pin coming up, which makes it much easier to see where you need the posts. So as I'm looking here, there's one missing here and there's one missing here. So we can add 2 more. So we need to move this one and this one down. So there's no support underneath this one, and there's no support, there's nothing else here. So if this board was a little longer, it would actually hit these other posts around here. But this is a micro ATX motherboard. So pop this out, move it off to the side, and the 2 posts that we have to move are this one. We'll move it over to here. And then we move this one and move it over to here. So now we move the necessary posts over, and we don't have extras, so they're not shorting out the bottom of the board, because that'll blow this thing to Kingdom Come. It won't boot. You might have some problems, a couple of wacky things happening. All right, so now we're in. So the motherboard's in. So now we take the included screws, which is right here, and we screw down the board. I like to have a magnetic screwdriver. Makes it much easier for screwing down screws. I just have to stick it on the tip of the screwdriver, and I can just go where I need to go and screw it in. Makes it easier. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that is good. We have all the necessary screws in the motherboard. So this is installed properly. So now, what we want to do next is most likely install the power supply and start running all the necessary cables through the chassis. So what we want to do is flip this over and take this panel off. So now we have this open. We flip it back over again. It's a really light case, there's nothing to it. Then we want to get the power supply, like a large power supply. 430 watt power supply is actually probably perfect for this installation. It'll never be taxed, because the only thing that's going to be on here is a CPU and a solid state hard drive. That's it. I could have went with a modular power supply, but that would have been a little bit more money, and the client was trying to keep it low cost. So what we want to do here is remove. All right, so now what we want to do is I like to have all my cables, you know, nice and neat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this up in the air like so that camera can see it. And then on the back, on the inside here, I want to put all the cables through this hole. So all the cables are going to be popped through this hole here. So you can see it on this one. So I'm going to put all the cables through this hole. And I'll show you why in a second. Pop everything through here. by going, Joe, what are you doing that for? Well, there's a method to my madness. Okay. Okay. So now we finagle this in. There we go. So now all the cables are on the bottom of the case right now. What you want to do is get the screws and screw in this power supply. It's nice. Corsair provides screws for you. Because airflow, believe it or not, they've already proven that bad wire management or bad cable management does not hamper airflow at all. However, it's just nice to see pretty installation. Okay, so now the power supply's in and all the cables are on the back of this thing hanging out. So what we want to do now is try to decipher the cabling. And you can't really see me doing this because I have it on the opposite way. I'll spin it around. So what I want to do is I want to decipher the cabling. So the ATX power is here. So we want to pop it through this hole here. Let me spin it around so I can show you. Pop it through this hole here. And then connect it. Okay, so now we have the ATX connection on it. Cables are still hanging out the back. However, you want to try to line it up going down this. There is a channel in the back of this. Spin it around so you can see what I'm talking about. See this channel? So we're gonna, excuse me, what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually zip tie this wire here so it eliminates the amount of space used. So we do have a couple other cables that we have to still run, so we're not going to do this yet. So, because that's the purpose of it, to make it look pretty. So we still got to do the CPU power. So let's get the CPU power, which is here. And this is hardware, you know, like hard drives and CD-ROM drives, but we don't have any of that yet. So we're going to go through the same hole and run it through, make it look pretty, connect it to the motherboard for the CPU power. Okay, that's in. So now in theory, we could pretty much zip tie this up just to make it look nice. Make sense? Okay, so now, because now we have the power for the CPU and the chassis, the ATX power. So if you notice carefully, you'll notice there's notches in here. And this is for the zip ties. So what we're going to do is, you know, it takes a lot of time. If you want your case to look pretty, it takes a substantial amount of time to do this. It is what it is. However, if you have passion in your stuff that you do, then you'll make your stuff look pretty. And it's worth it, because it looks great at the end after you're finished. So, it is one zip tie. Maybe I'll hide it underneath the other one, like so you really can't see it. That'll look great. And then we have the other one. Go down to the next section. And we'll pop it through, like so. And we'll zip tie this. So So you kind of get the idea of what I'm doing here. I'm trying to make it look pretty. Because the wire management is key, 100% key to a neat case. And since this is actually a business machine, I'd like to have my client know that they're getting a quality product when they buy from me. Not that they're going to be looking through the chassis to see if I'm doing a good job in my wire management, but it's just my knowledge knowing that I'm doing a good quality job. Now we have a pair of dikes, cut these off. We have one more that we could do if we need, if we can. Let's see if I can get it in there. Let's see. Wrap it around. There we go. Done. So this section is finished. As you can see how nice and neat it looks. Cables going down the channel. It doesn't really matter. The back panel has kind of a pop out to it. So it doesn't really matter if it's horrible looking. But needless to say, this is nice and neat here. And we still have these other cables we have to deal with, but at least this is fine. I could deal with this the way this looks. This is nice because if I needed to, I can zip tie some other ones to this. I can push underneath this, and if I needed to run some additional cabling, I could, and just zip tie it right to the primary cabling. So now, because we're going to probably end up doing that anyway. So, all right. So let's continue. So we have these other cables too, like the USB audio and USB 3.0 cabling. So that'll be popping up here as well. So we have to pop through here to run the USB 3.0. And granted, there are a lot of cables here. There's really no need for this many. As you can see, we got to finish up with all these other cables here. So the USB 3.0 cabling and the audio cabling and all that stuff, we could run through here. So let's see, we'll get the USB 3.0 cable here, and we'll pop that through. One of the negative things of having so many cables to run through such a tiny case, but it can be done. Spin this around. Now we have the 3.0 cable is connected. That is done, and the excess is in the back. So in other words, you can see the 3.0 cable is right here, and then the excess cabling is right here, just flopping around, which we're not really too concerned about. We can wire tie this later, like so, but we still have a lot more to do here. This computer's been already tested and it works perfectly fine. Now it's just installing it and doing the cable management. All right, so let's get the USB cable and audio cable through as well. So let's run that next. So let's see where we have to go. So the USB is down here and the audio is down here. So let's see if we could, so let's run it down to the bottom instead of going through one of those other holes. Go through this hole and then pop it over like so. So we have audio. Let's see if the audio will reach. Okay, the audio won't reach. So what we're going to have to do is change our positioning on the audio cable. So So what we can do is probably pop through here instead for the audio. Let's see. Hold on a second. I don't like how this looks. When you get picky like me, you got to have everything perfect. All right, so now the audio cable can reach. So pop it here. This is for the front audio connections here. We got mic and headphone out. That's what the audio is for. And you also have audio in the back, but if you wanted to connect your stuff in the front, you could do it that way. That's what that cable is for. All right, so USB, we can go the original we did before for the USB. I'm very picky when I do my cable management. Got to be perfect. So then we plug in the USB header. So now we have this is done. So now we can wire tie these two together here in the side. So we're getting there. Slowly but surely, but we're getting there. All right, so now we have the power, the hard drive lights, and all that good stuff. So we want the power switch, the reset switch, we want to pop that through here. So we want to connect that. So let's see, we have the power switch. Remember, there's no polarity with switches. Reset switch, power switch, there's no polarity. However, there is polarity with LED lighting. So we have power, positive and negative. Power, and this is the reset switch, and then lastly hard drive LED. Okay, it looks like a mess. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull them through here and leave the mess in this side panel. So now this stuff looks much neater. You're pulling it through here. We can wire tie this here, so it looks much cleaner. So we have, so we can wire tie this, that. Like so. And we'll cut that off. I'm gonna do one more, just because I'm gonna do it, and I have them. Comes with the case, so why not, right? And it looks neater, doesn't it? Now you see how neat that looks. So now you have nice, neat cabling, audio cable, USB, power, all this good stuff. It's all nice and neat. So you don't have a lot of cables in here. It looks acceptable. So now we have a big mess on this side, but that's really not really an issue because we still got to mount the hard drive. So let's pop one of these out. So now we're going to mount the solid state drive. So now this thing slides in like this. So what we want to do is we want to put the connectors facing down. So since this case comes with the screws, which is a home run, so this machine is already completely finished. In other words, there's nothing to do. I already did the installation of the operating system and all that doodads the other day. You guys saw me do that on the other video. This is just installing it in the chassis, so you can see wire management and so on and so forth. So do you need to put all 4 screws in here? Probably not. It's a super light solid state drive. Okay, so now clearly see it's installed on this. This is nice. This is a nice case because you can actually, it works as a 2.5-inch drive bay, hard drive enclosure device, and a 2.5 and a 3.5-inch. So this is perfect. So let's slide this baby in. Now the hard drive is installed there. Now we're going to flip it around, and there's the hard drive. And that also brings me to this. There's a front fan here which lights up. However, I don't like the way the wiring is. I don't want this coming straight across. So what we want to do is we want to change the direction of this, where it's physically routed through. And on the bottom of this bay, there's actually a slot hole. What we don't want to do is you want to run this cabling underneath and through here, and then run this fan to the motherboard. So before we do any of this work, let me run this fan cabling. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this, probably not, but nonetheless you could pretty much understand what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to get this section, pop this out. So I can see the hole that I'm trying to slide it in. And we'll run this down like so. Okay. And then through here. And then the CPU fan, and then the the fan goes right here, which is perfect. I can push this plastic piece back in, and we're good to go. All right, so now that the fan's done, I can do this wire management now. So now we have all this mess here. This is like a disaster. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to do as best we can to do cable management here. Because they don't like to, I don't know why, but they don't make them all the same length. They all go into the same location. Why don't they just make them the same darn length? I don't get it. So, I'm just going to do this. Add that in there too. Okay. So I'm going to run this through. This, and then tie it down. That's acceptable. Okay, that's looking good. Let's add one more, just because we can. Like I said, it's included in the kit anyway. Might as well use the wire ties. We got them. Might as well use them. So tie this down here like this. And that is it for this section here. So the chassis, the panel will slide on with no trouble whatsoever. So this is nice and neat here. So now we have SATA cable. I'll take care of this now. So we're only using one. So there's no CD-ROM drive in this machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this cable down like so, and then connect the SATA cable to the hard drive, and push the excess in the bay. Actually, you know what? I don't like how that looks. I'm going to go underneath this. And then connect it again, and then push the excess down below, and the thing. So now the only thing I'm missing now is just the SATA cable for the hard drive, which we have right here. And then the other cables that are here, they're not going to be used. We're not using these. We have additional SATA and Molex connectors here, and also floppy drive and video card power. This doesn't have any add-on video cards at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this up here and just stuff it below the hard drive. The hard drive doesn't generate any heat, so stick it right here. Same thing with this Molex connector. This stuff you want to leave floating around because you never know when you might need it, and you have it wire tied down to just be a real pain in the neck to get it free. You have to do some clipping and stuff like that. And that's pretty much it there. So then we take the panel and it'll just slide right on. Ta-da! Done. So all that stuff, all the wiring and everything is all inside. Can't beat that with a stick. Flip it around. And that's what it looks like on the front here. I mean, okay, now we're going to install the SATA cable for the hard drive. And this is going to go on SATA 0. And what we're going to do is, since I put on that rear panel already, so we're going to take off that back panel and slide that cable through. Okay, so slide the cable through here, and then we connect it to the hard drive. Put that back panel back on again, slide it on. Perfecto. There we go. I don't like to wire tie the SATA cables because it tends to, I don't know, for some reason they tend to move a little bit, and this doesn't bother you with the cabling, visual, you can actually see it. Then you wrap it around, maybe stick it here, whatever, but this is pretty much it. This is it. This is a completed system. See all the wiring, nice and neat. And very little dust gathering of the system. I will, you know what, so you can see, I'll just take this off one more time so I can show it on the other camera. Wow. So this is what it looks like after you're done. So it's pretty impressive, nice and neat. But that's the whole point of it, is to make it as neat as possible for when you're doing your installation of cabling. It's important because you want to make sure that this thing is, perfect, especially when you're building it. It's going to be your baby. However, this is going to be a client, but as with me, the way I do stuff, that's the reason why I have purpose, passion, and pride in my that's my motto. And it doesn't really matter who you are. I treat every machine as if it was mine. So I put the same TLC, tender loving care, in every machine that I build, regardless who it's for. And this is a huge home run. So this is what it looks like. This is how you build a computer and have an incredible wire management system, no matter how big or how small your case is. Okay guys, if you like this video, thumbs up rather, and we'll see you in the next review. Thank you for watching, and if you're not a subscriber, please become a subscriber. I'm going to be having a giveaway shortly. I'm going to give away either a motherboard or CPU.